is overlooking main entrance.
Jen, I turned on the recording so our friends can see.
Oh, sure, no problem.
All right.
So I'm on the second floor overlooking the main entrance. It used to be a gallery space. So there's these really cool gallery rails. Ooh, and a windmill or wind chime. So yeah, gallery rails all over the place. Second floor, we've got this open space up here. This is conference loft. So this room will be a conference room. I suspect that this was once part of a different building, and that's why it's lofted up. We can't really figure out anything else. Let's see, I'll take you down the main staircase.
Jen, this place is beautiful. It's so nice.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Character to it.
It really does. And it's nothing like anything that I have seen anywhere else in the suburbs. You know, I used to live in kind of the Williamsburg Park slope of Chicago. And this makes me feel like I'm back there. So yeah. And so then here's where a bunch more offices will go, bathrooms going up over there. We've got this kind of funky staircase. These balustrades were done when it was a frame shop. These are just pieces of frame.
Oh man, I hope you're keeping that.
We are.
Yeah.
This will be our kitchen. This is a 1950s beverage cooler that somebody left behind.
Are you kidding me?
It doesn't work though, but we're gonna just like use it as storage.
Wow.
It's pretty hip. This pit will be filled in. And then this is in here. This will be the childcare room. So
okay, right by the entrance.
Yeah, right by that's the members' entrance.
I see.
And that's the entrance that'll be closed like 24/7. And there's another conference room that I kind of breezed past because there's a couple of guys chilling in there right now. And I didn't want to bother them. So
okay,
this will be blocked off with a bathroom. So
what are they doing? They're doing plumbing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep. So that's the deal. And then our community engagement director is going to be sitting here. Like that's her main post, but then she'll integrate herself too. But this is nice because this spot gives her a view of this door, of this space, and then she's right by this door as well. So, and then this will be my office.
Oh, right wow.
Here. Yeah.
Step into
exciting.
My office. Step through the
walls
of my office.
Step through the walls, and then this space over here will be a conference room. So we'll just go back upstairs. Again, yeah, it's just like really great textures in here. And it's just totally not suburban, which is exactly what I wanted. So hang on a second. There I am. Okay, I'm back.
Hey, there you are.
Hey.
That's so exciting. Jen, this is so exciting.
Thank you.
Long time coming.
I know, right? Man.
All right. So one thing I'm seeing, I'm feeling this because I haven't done this like pre-launch tour in a while, and it's so nice to see the experience of hearing you narrate the vision of what's going where as you're walking us through it. And I feel misty-eyed. I feel excited. Like I feel this sense of like, wow, I can't wait to go visit there one day. And
you're going to.
Like, I don't know when I'm ever going to be in Chicago, but now I'm excited to go see it, you know?
Yeah. It needs to happen, Tony.
And that's, I think, for the other folks who watch this, maybe after the fact, like that is so important. That's why, like, I think a lot of people don't want to show off their unfinished space, but that dream of like, man, I can't wait to see this done. That really, it becomes real in your head. So I hope that you're able to get a lot of people in the door, during this time.
Yes. So I just sent out my third email campaign this morning. Hang on, I've got to plug in.
Okay.
And immediately I got 3 more people signed up for tours. So I think by the end of this week, I will have given tours to 10 people, 12 people, something like that.
Nice.
Yeah. So I only did 3 last week. None of them have converted yet, but hopefully soon. So I followed up with them and answered some of their questions and all that. Let's see, what else can I tell you? Oh, My local Neiman Marcus reached out to me.
Do they want to sponsor your wardrobe?
Wouldn't that be amazing? I'm going to do a panel event for them. It's like a fashion show / panel on local female entrepreneurs. So that's happening in a couple of weeks.
Fabulous. Well, great
Yes.
timing.
Yeah.
I feel like that would maybe be a good place to find people who are your prospective customers, or at least like
totally
who know people.
Exactly. Yeah. My inbox has been pretty full over the weekend, and then again today. A couple of different like local newsletters reached out to me. They're like, "Hey, when are you opening? We want to feature you." So all this is great. I just need people to give me money.
Yeah. Do you have an open date?
No, actually. So this meeting that's going to happen in, what time is it?
20 minutes.
22 minutes. So the landlord's going to be there. So I need to, I saw him at breakfast, like, because his family owns a restaurant in town. So I saw him like briefly at breakfast yesterday, and tried to get a sense of date from him. But I need to know that from him. I see him. He got the architect and like the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. It's going to be like a whole little posse of us walking around looking at things. I did a bunch of demos for space software. They're all terrible. So.
Okay, well, first, before we get to that, I will say the open date might be an important piece to getting people to cross over to giving you money. I'm realizing that, like, basically you need the location and you need the date and obviously like the pricing, but that might be the thing that gets people to cross over. So hopefully.
Yeah. And I've been telling them early November based on some other things that my landlord has said. But yeah, a more finite date would really help, I'm sure. So hopefully I can get that soon.
Yeah, you're coming into red zone time now. I
feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my husband is doing so much travel. He's in London right now, and my daughter's not having it, and it's just like, oh God.
Like, hey fam, can we just all turn off the drama for 8 weeks?
Yeah, exactly. She was really pissed off this morning because he said that he was standing near Hyde Park, and she's like, I want to see the park. I want to see the park. I'm like, it's grass and trees. Like, it's not like a swing set or anything.
Kids are funny like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay. So. All right. So we skipped right into, like, we're doing case study with Jen, which I hope y'all are okay with. And maybe then we can circle back and do some intros and some status updates. But I feel like we're in a groove now. I don't want to lose it. So Jen, tell me about your experiences demoing the software platforms.
Let's see. Proximity got back to me really quickly. That was nice. And I like, for the majority, I like what they have to say. But it seems like they and a lot of other systems want you to buy the more expensive routers and things like that. And my, it's just like another factor. And my IT guy was like, wait, what is all this? No, that's terrible. And I'm like, well, it seems like if we want it to integrate properly, we need to get this one particular type of router. Let's see. Office R&D keeps popping up as a good suggestion, but they won't get back to me. Like, I've tried to make a demo with them several times, and that to me speaks volumes about their level of organization on their end.
Yeah, like what's going to happen when you have a serious problem? Yeah,
exactly. Nexodus was okay. I'm just really annoyed that I have to give them my non-work email address, because my work email address is already tied to another co-working space that has Nexodus, and it's a little thing, I know, but I'm just kind of like, really? Come on. Like, I want this to work with my work email address.
Like
Um,
just fix it.
just
Figure it
fix
out.
it.
You guys
Fix
have
it.
admin powers. Maurice knows, right? I
Yeah,
see.
why do you have to give them a specific email address? That's kind of weird.
Because apparently my current email address is associated with a co-working space that also uses Nexodus, that I'm a member of.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
you can't be a member and an owner at the same time.
apparently, well, not with the same email address. No, apparently not.
Huh.
Who else did I talk to? Satellite Desk Works. They were really nice and they were really responsive and they seem pretty good, but maybe not as robust as what I need. Who else did I talk to? Oh, Ascensus was crazy expensive. But then Proximity might be too, because I saw something on their website where they take 5% of your gross revenue. And I was like, holy shit, that's a lot of money. Are you kidding me?
That's what, Proximity?
Yeah. So I emailed them and I said, really? Is this correct? And there is something on there saying if you have more than 10% gross revenue, you can get enterprise level pricing. I'm like, okay, well, that's what's that? Tell me about that. Because I have to make more than 10,000 a month. Like my expenses are more than that. Still, it's really effing expensive. And then when you add in the
Did we lose Jen?
that was Comcast calling.
There you are.
No, I got a phone call. Yeah, so then when you add in that I also need like the Cisco routers and stuff like that require the license, it just ups the cost even more. So yeah, they all suck. They're all terrible.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry, Jen. Are there ones you haven't checked out yet, or how are you approaching what to do next with the software platforms?
I want to hear back from Proximity because I like theirs the best so far.
Why?
I like the user interface. I like the features. Melanie uses them too. She seems to like them. They have a whole integration with the door systems, which if I use that, it makes the door system pricing a lot less. Maybe that balances something up. I just feel like I'm in a rabbit hole, like a technology rabbit hole right now.
You are, and unfortunately, we kind of all end up having to deal with it at some point. And I think it's one of the things that I have the hardest time making easy for you guys.
Yeah.
Because it seems like there are good options, but there are a lot of it's hard to find the good option for you. And it's labor intensive to figure all that out. I do hope and think that once you make your choice, that if you commit to sticking with the choice and just kind of go all in with it, that hopefully you don't worry about it ever again, aside from whatever shortcomings that particular platform has. So there'll be this kind of persistent pain, but it's kind of like picking a space. Like it's very labor intensive to pick the space. And no matter what you pick, you're going to have some trade-offs. And then once you make the selection, hopefully you don't have to change again for a really long time. But then you're going to have to live with the ups and the downs of it. And to some degree, you can affect that. But to some degree, a certain feature of a certain space is just going to be the way that it is for forever. When we picked our space in New York, we had the Blue Man Group above us.
Oh, geez.
That they like to pound on things rhythmically for hours at a time. And so that was a reality for us for 5 years. And it was seasonal. There would be this time of year, like September, it would be they'd all come back from whatever they were doing. And then they'd be doing new rehearsals and auditions. And we'd have a line down the stairwell of people auditioning for the Blue Man Group. And but then it would be thump, 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 thump on our ceiling for hours. And, we turned up the music. We had white noise generators. We did what we could with it, there was nothing we could do about it at all, So anyway, I hope that you are able to find some resolution there. And yeah, maybe in the group, if we have, I know we've discussed this a bit over email, but maybe you can, I'll send the notes on this call and maybe we can spin up some conversation from folks who have experience either with these platforms or with other ones you haven't tried yet, and we can see if we can find some better direction there.
I'm a little hesitant to go for any of the new startup. Oh, and I talked to People Line. And they were $500 a month. Yeah, and I'm hesitant to go with any of the newer companies just because I know that there was that one that people really liked, and then they went out of business.
Meshwork, yeah.
Yeah.
What about Cobot? Have you looked at Cobot?
Briefly, I know Angel really likes it. It doesn't seem quite robust enough. I'll take another look at it.
Yeah, Cobot's like one of the first ones, and it's kind of similar to Nexodus, where it's been around a long time. It's probably one of the market leaders. And I think it's pretty robust. Like, I think it has a lot of features. Rachel's saying that
Rachel uses it.
Rachel, are you able to talk on voice? You want to chime in?
Sure. Yeah. Hi, good morning, everyone. Yeah, we use Cobot. It's great. I mean, the functionality is pretty cool. I mean, there's some reporting features that aren't as robust. You have to do some manual stuff, but it gives you everything that you need. It gives you revenue, members. I mean, you can segment people. You can customize, your automated invoices and all that. So, I mean, I highly recommend it. And also, if you have different spaces, we use it for like our meeting rooms, and it, you can allocate it to certain accounts. So you have 10 hours per month to use certain meeting rooms. So I highly recommend it, because we did look at another one, Optics, I believe. And so that one seemed really great in terms of reporting, although the pricing was a little bit steep, because as you got to a certain amount of members, it was like $1 per member per month. So that was kind of the only like drawback.
Yeah. Okay, I'll check them out then. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Jen, what kind of questions do you have for Rachel?
Do they?
I don't know. I'm not sure. As far as Wi-Fi, I'm not quite sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, clipped out there for a second, so I interrupted. Cool. Well, it seems like we've fallen into a conversation about software platforms. So why don't, it looks like we've got a nice group of people in the room now. So a lot of you seem to be tuning in over audio or just have your cameras and mics off. But if you want to introduce yourselves, I will make the opportunity for you to do so now. I'm going to start with, we've got your update with Jen, obviously, and that's great. Maurice, if you want to introduce yourself and let us know where you are and what the latest update is on your end. And I don't know, maybe drop in a comment on your thoughts on software and, kind of where your head's at is regarding that.
Sure. So Maurice, super early stage in terms of opening a space, still building community, don't have a space in mind or anything yet. I am a member of a co-working space in my area right now. Last call, I mentioned that I was kicking around the idea of starting like a co-working consortium almost. So there are not a lot of co-working spaces in the area, but the owners and operators seem to know each other, or they haven't. So at least my short-term goal is to try and bridge that gap. I did a little bit of work around that this week. So I have 2 folks that are on board. I'm visiting one of them tomorrow. I emailed the owner of my current co-working space on Thursday. She has not gotten back to me, so I'm not sure if she's just busy or that's bad news. She's not interested. I'm not sure which one. But I will be there Wednesday and Friday, so I'll be seeing her this week. So she can't avoid me forever. Yeah, so that's where I am with my project at the moment. In terms of my comments on the software space stuff, I haven't done a ton of research on that. I've only heard of Proximity, Cobot, and Nexodus, the only 3 I've heard of so far. So I was just taking notes of the names of all the other ones. But I've heard similar things from other co-working space owners and operators, is no one seems to be happy with whatever they choose ever. So that seems to be like a common thing, at least.
Fair enough. Okay, thanks, Maurice. Rachel, nice to see you, and how things going in LA with Toolbox?
Yeah, hi, good to see you as well. Things are actually going pretty awesome. Next week is our official grand opening. So we've been in crunch mode as far as planning and catering and sponsorships and panels and all that. And I think the really exciting part, we have LA Mayor Eric Garcetti. He's going to be doing like the welcome like keynote ribbon cutting for us. So that's been like super cool and unexpected to have that, but also, you know, a good amount of pressure, right? Like the mayor's coming, we got to clean and make sure everything looks good. So, you know, been in crunch mode for that. So yeah, things have been really, you know, picking up, and things have been shifting. Some of our panelists like dropped out and all that. So it's been a challenge, and then plus the day to day, you know, managing the space and making sure the cold brew keg is stocked and, you know, all those kind of things. But it's just, you know, day in the life. so yeah, things are good.
Good. All right. Well, congrats. This is a very exciting time.
Thank you.
I'll be curious to hear some of your thoughts on just what's on your mind leading up to the official opening and how we can kind of maximize that experience. But okay, very good. Maybe we'll come back to that. Craig, how's it going in your world? How's Georgia? Is it warmer? It's warmer than here, I imagine. It's already fall and I don't like it.
It's it's still a bit toasty out there, but we'll see if that changes. We're ready for fall. Actually, we could use a little cooler weather here. So yeah, I'm starting to run into some resistance. So which is, you know, it's part of you know, doing this sort of thing. For those that are on the call, I mean, we're really early. I'm probably a lot like Maurice in the sense that I've got, you know, it's all just an idea stage right now. I mean, the building hasn't even been built yet. And so been talking with the developer and of the building, and said, hey, you know, I wanted to present to you guys my plan for building community. I actually last week, just to kind of rewind a little bit, Tony and I were working on, you know, starting to build the concept of the culture and the community around the co-working space. You know, I've got an 18-month ramp here, so that's going to take a little while. I found space. I actually have, with Pinewood Studios, I actually have a place now where we can actually have some meetups. We can have some of the early on, you know, jellies and the work sprints and things that Tony, I was talking with you about last week. I've done that now. So I've got that secured for the next 18 months. It's not going to cost me anything, which is really cool. And so I wanted to present that. And of course, the developer was kind of like, so have you been talking, you know, he keeps wanting to have me talk to other, these, I don't know, I want to call them co-working spaces, but they're like people that he knows who actually rent out office space. He's wanting me to kind of partner with them. And I'm kind of going, yeah, I'd love to. And I contact these folks and I either don't hear back or they kind of monkey around with the times and never get back to me. So long story short, finally he said, hey, so we have 3 other co-working spaces that are interested in this space. So we're going to send out an RFP. And I'm like, darn, you know, I mean, that's just, I'm having to contend for this space when, and I think the reason why I don't mind that, I think the reason why is I think he's afraid to work with me. I think he wants to work with someone who's like, has done this before, which I get that. I don't hear you, Tony. Your audio is not coming through.
An established operator. That's what he wants to work with.
Yeah, he wants an established operator. Yeah. Which is, I get that.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, so what the other thing that's interesting is that it may not be a bad thing even for you if there is some involvement. Yeah, thanks, Jen. Best of luck. Because they might, you know, if you get the right partner, it could be somebody who can bring all the infrastructure and support and resources that you would otherwise have to spin up on your own. It's just, there's a good chance that you don't vibe with those people, you know, or
right.
You know, it's risky in the sense that it could be great, but it could be not great. So I'm just wondering how we might be able to position you so that you have some leverage in the conversation, since in their heads as the real estate developer, you know, their mindset is, you know, like we build a building or we'll build like a series of buildings. It's like, okay, that's an apartment building done. This is going to be restaurant retail. So that's going to be like a Subway or a McDonald's, and that's going to be cafe retail. So that's going to be a Starbucks, right? Like they like being able to just say like, okay, boom, drop in a known quantity in here that just, that's what they do. As opposed to someone who is a person who's starting up, who's working on making the idea work. To them, it's a lot more vague, or it's just riskier, right? And so what I'm thinking about is how to position you not head to head with those kinds of companies in that arena, because in that arena we're not going to win, you know. So it's not our game to play. But those kind of chains have a weakness in the sense that they're kind of cookie cutter, and they serve a model, but they don't necessarily appreciate or plug into the greater context of the project.
Yep.
And I think that's where you have a personal interest. You're there, you're homegrown, right? You're integrated into what's going on there. And so if we can help them to understand the importance of having somebody like you have the power that you need to be able to do the work that you want to do, then hopefully that'll help tip the scales. But yeah, we're gonna have to brainstorm on that one a little bit.
I think so. And I just, to make a long story short, I just basically responded back saying, hey, what I actually was asking for a meeting with these guys on was saying, look, here's my plan. And it would be this 3-step plan that we were talking about earlier, where, we start with the meetups, we graduate to doing the jellies, we graduate to doing the work sprints, and walk them through that and say, this is key. You got to build this culture before you build the space, before we open the doors to the space. Those guys aren't going to do that. I mean, they're not, I know they're not doing it because they're not here doing it now. Otherwise I'm the only one that is. So
yeah. And again, it might just be a matter of communication. Like if they do end up deciding to do the RFP, maybe they could include you in the process.
Oh yeah, they will. Yeah, they'll do that.
And so then if you can help to architect the selection of, I guess I don't know, because would you be putting in for the RFP yourself?
I do not know yet, because I haven't seen it yet. I just got the response from the developer just basically saying, we will be issuing lease proposals to each of our 3 co-working groups interested in being at Pinewood Forest in the next few weeks.
All right.
So
maybe we can look at who those groups are and see if there's ones that maybe are worth making a more proactive effort to get to know them better. Just because there could be a way that they could, because like if I'm an operator, right? Like these aren't major chains that we're talking about, right? There may be like regional companies that have
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I'm an operator, and Jaudia and Eddie in Ohio can speak to this now that they're dealing with this. When you're expanding to another location, especially when you only have 1 or 2 locations, you need a champion in that region. If I'm going to open a space in another city, but I'm operating already in my own city, the first thing I'm going to want is somebody in that city who's going to be the one who's just going to own that project and really kill it, who's going to have the local relationships and the passion and the drive and all that stuff. And so, again, it's going to come down to their chemistry and their ethics and their values and all of that and how that vibes with you. But if the right partner is there, then you would be their savior, in the sense of, like, we want to expand, but we need a Craig for this to work. So, it's a game of trade-offs.
Yeah. Well, maybe what I need to do is say, who are the other 3 spaces?
Yeah, sure. And then go talk to them. And at this point, it's all conversation. This is the beauty of being able to take advantage of your current position, being, just a guy, is, it makes you less strong to the real estate developer, but it also makes you less of a threat to these other co-working spaces, because you can come to them not saying like, I want to build a space and muscle you guys out of this project, but I'm a guy who's really passionate about this and I want to see a co-working space happen. I'm trying to figure out the best way of doing that. And maybe you guys can be a part of that. And so let's see how we can work on that together.
Would you suggest I just say to the developer, hey, say just that to the developer and say, listen, can you put me in touch with the other 3 spaces and see if I can work together with them?
I don't see why not. Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
that's what I'll do.
If they'll introduce you, that's the best. If they say no, then you can go out and try it yourself. And, and even if they're not responsive over email, it's always possible to just, try to attend an event that they're hosting at their space, or even come in and work in those spaces. If they're not too far away, if you can put it together with some other trip or other meetings that you have or whatever. But if you can go and co-work in those spaces, I mean, that'll tell you a lot, honestly, about what their real culture is like, is if you hang out in the spaces themselves. So that'll give you a really good sense of, what's going on under the hood.
Okay. Sounds good.
Behind the hood, under the scenes. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, let's keep that thread going and see where we can go with it. Cool. And we got some folks who've called in, but I don't see them yet. So we've got Ryan, we've got Olivia, I see Christy. If any of you want to chime in and introduce and share a status, now is your chance. Tick tock, going, and oh, it's Christy. Hey. Oh, nope, you're on mute. There you are.
There I am. I'm here. I'll say hi. Christy Alexander. I own WorkSmart in upstate New York in Glens Falls, and we are a little over 2,100 square feet and just about 3 months in at this point. Things are going really well. I mean, really well. Not really, but they're going well, as well as can be expected.
Tell us more.
Like way up here, but we had a big art exhibit launch Friday night, and so that was exciting and had a lot of people through, and we've got a lot of interest for October in our space, our conference room and meeting room. Still working to build the co-working community, which is where my efforts primarily lie and what's of most interest to me. So
You're saying the commute, like the building that sense of camaraderie and people coming together and doing stuff together, that kind of thing.
Working to gather the people, and then building it from there. We've got a lot of coffee shop workers around here. A lot of direct sales workers that are hesitant to make the investment. So,
how many members do you have now?
we dropped to 3. Yeah.
Okay. And so total capacity maybe like 20 or so?
Total capacity, if everybody showed up, I would say 25 spaces.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so we're still in a place where there's not like a critical mass for community. So we're kind of like proactively going to try to grow the pool of people that are within your reach.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm feeling that chicken and egg scenario for sure of trying to communicate the benefit of joining the community when there's not a whole lot of community to join at this point. So, it's definitely trying to communicate that vision and the possibilities to people.
Okay. So what's your current approach to the community building from this point? Like, how are you working on attracting new people, or what are you thinking about in terms of the next activities you'll undertake?
Well, we've done quite a few events, and I was talking with you, all of which actually have been free. So at this point, it's I'm working on. Sorry, there was a distraction there. Well, I'm working more on building the relationship, and upstate New York, specifically the area that we're in, Lake George area, we are a few years behind everybody, and many of the individuals that I talk to are unaware of what co-working actually is, even though many of them are doing it in coffee shops every day. Interestingly enough, I just went across the street to talk with one of the guys that works at, in fact, I didn't go over for the purpose of talking with him. I went over with my friend to get a coffee, and we started talking to the young man, and he was like, what's your business? Where are you? And we are literally right under his nose. So, it's communicating that we're here and trying to stay top of mind and building those relationships.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just taking notes because I'm trying to put together an outline for a workshop on launching co-working spaces, and I'm remembering that there's a really critical piece that everyone needs to understand, which is assessing the state of their city or region when they're starting, because the approach in a city where there's already lots of co-working spaces is very, very different from the approach in a city where there is no co-working.
Absolutely.
And so you can win in any of the contexts, but knowing kind of how to approach it is important, because in your role and your position where nobody is currently co-working, it means most people don't even know what it is. And so there's a lot of things you shouldn't do because a lot of the marketing things that we would normally think would make sense only make sense if people know what it is.
Right.
You know, so like we can't be positioning your project as like, let's talk about why your co-working space is the best, or like what the, you know, like what's so exciting about your co-working space, because people don't know what the co-working space part is.
Right.
You know, so it's like, we've got an amazing, you know, all these amazing things going on in our co-working space. People are like, that's awesome. What is this? What are we talking about? You know? And so I'm thinking about how we can take advantage of the good things that come from that, which you know, have to do with finding the early adopters who are already ready, and, you know, really just doing whatever we can to get them on board. And then
you just blanked out, taking advantage of the good things, which are, then I lost you.
And seen, yeah. All you have to do is finding the early adopters who are ready for it, that require minimal or no education. And those might be, like in my world, that was tech people, because the tech people were the ones who had laptops and Wi-Fi first. So they were literally the people who were able to work from home and from cafes and whatever before everybody else. It might be a little bit different where you are, but we still want to find, like, who are the people who are more ready for this? And equally importantly, who are the people who we shouldn't even bother with at this point? Right. Aside from, like, if you happen to talk to these people, to say, like, to explain in the most layman's terms what the concept is, but to not expect to get anything out of it. Because right now, most of your market is just not ready. And that's fine, because you're not trying to corner the market in that area. You're not trying for thousands of members. Right. You just need a very small number. And in that teensy-tiny part of the bell curve, you can have 25, members. And so what I'm thinking about is how can we create the right kind of space for those people to present themselves. And I hate to kind of like overemphasize tech, but I think it's just an obvious spot. Do you see other events going on in town, or other groups, or even locations like cafes or things where you think we might be able to find some of these people?
There have been some different gatherings that I've tapped into. Creative design individuals. There's a group that just started meeting in this area. They're doing a creative design crawl, and so I've communicated with her about maybe we could be one of the stops along the way for a freelancer who may want to set up in our space and host you guys here, because they do they go from one firm to a bar to a firm to a bar locally. She's young. She has just started to take over in the leadership position for this region, and I don't know if she didn't get it, or I'm not sure, but there was no response there. But nevertheless, so there have been different groups that they did have a meet here. There have been different groups that I've tapped into to say, how about you come and meet in our space? And there's one of the groups is a co-working group that meets in a local coffee shop just up the street. So that's been kind of interesting to try to figure out how to best reach them and communicate the value, because right now they're doing it once a week for free. And that's where I found that there's a lot of the direct sales individuals who are doing this on the side to be able to be home for their kids. And so I've felt like that's not really my market. Those individuals who are doing what they're doing to be home with the kids want to be home with the kids. They don't want to work in a co-working space. So I did, it's been kind of it's been a process for sure in trying to figure out the level of interest, because those, and I'm trying to make this brief, but that group has come to me on more than one occasion. Let's plan this and let's plan that, and a lot of them are let's do a mommy and me, so that our kids are in one room with a sitter and we're working in another room, and that's just not what I want to happen here. That's not my market, and I don't want children in the space. And so I've been creative about that and approaching different daycare centers, talking to them about any opportunity that we might have to partner and come up with a package, co-working childcare package with a little bit of a reduced rate, and working together to mutually benefit each other. So.
Okay, gotcha. What about the 3 members that you have? What's their story? What can you tell us about them?
One is direct sales. The other 2 are for private companies, not startups of their own.
Gotcha. So they're telecommuters.
Yeah.
Are they working for big companies?
No.
No. Okay. I'm just wondering if there's any hints about them that we can use to find more people like them.
So one thing I was going to suggest, I will be in a similar situation where my area co-working is not very developed. I think once I get a situation of having to educate people about the benefits of co-working. But I went through a small exercise last week trying to think of, okay, how can I assess if this is even a need in my community, right? Like, are there people that I could find that would even use this space? I have a list on my board that I was just looking at a while ago. And when you mentioned the coffee shops, one of the things that I was looking at was going to different places when it's not lunchtime and see who's hanging out there with a laptop. So like Panera, Starbucks, libraries were the 3 places that I found folks with it actually really kind of surprised me. Like, our library opens, I think, at 7:30, and there are folks lined up with their laptop that are going to work. They're not like students or anything, and they're there all day. So I was like, okay, this is definitely a person that would most likely use a co-working space, right? If they're in front of a library at 8 a.m. with their laptop, like waiting to jump on the phone call. So one suggestion was going to be to kind of look at individuals instead of groups, like where are these individuals hanging out? And I don't have a way of how to approach them. But yeah, one of them was in the phone call, one of them was like typing up a report. Like, well, if they could have a quiet place to work, I'm sure they'd pay $20 a day, even if they're just in town visiting or something, over going to Starbucks with like the sound of the grinding machine and stuff like that in the background. So that was one of my suggestions, was look at individuals and then figure out how to approach them, which I don't have a suggestion for that yet.
Yeah, it's the approach and then communicating the value, because I mean, you're sure that they would do that, but they're not doing that. They're not
Right.
paying to come and work where there is no distraction, where the Wi-Fi is secure and
Yep.
Really fantastic compared to what you're going to get in our local Starbucks. I was at our Starbucks prior to opening the space, and there were a number of people in there working, and there always are. And I don't know that many of them actually are even working on businesses. I have talked with some of them, and they're doing schoolwork or just hanging out,
Right.
or But
Some of them are
he
definitely
pulled,
students, which would not be
yes,
a market to tap into.
right. And he
Yeah.
pulled a printer out of his bag and set up a printer in Starbucks. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, so those individuals are definitely out there. The question is, how do you approach them without just
Right.
walking up to them and handing them a card or a brochure, and then communicating to them the value? And I think some of that is getting them here to actually work and experience the value. But and so far, what I've found is that it's all relational. It's developing the relationship, like you've talked about before, Tony, with the individuals that own or work in the coffee shop. And in talking with the individual across the street that works at the coffee shop, you know, he looked around and said, you could take many of these people over there to work. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, he doesn't have a huge shop, and they come and they sit and sit and sit and sit and sit and buy a cup of coffee or two. And they still could come here and buy his coffee and sit here and sit and sit, you know, so.
So you have a pain point for the cafe owner. The cafe manager has a challenge that you're solving for him.
Mm-hmm.
What if he could advertise for you?
He can. He said, bring over some cards. So I got, you know, people have their cards kind of piled on top of a cooler over there that's kind of like chin height. So I got a card holder, and I'll bring them over. Definitely, I will bring them over.
I'm wondering how to take it further since you've got support from management, you know, and maybe you could brainstorm with them to ask how they would see it happen. But I've seen there was a really great cafe in Boulder where I used to live that everybody would work in all day. It was just, you know, wall to wall people on laptops, and they do a coffee tasting every Friday at 2, where they would prepare the same bean 3 different methods, so you could taste like the difference between a pour over and a French press and stuff like that. But suddenly everybody got off their laptops and they all started standing in one place, listening to the barista explain the preparation method. And I never took advantage of it in terms of a business, but I always noticed, I remembered that moment because it was one of the only times I've ever seen a cafe full of laptop people actually get up and stand around at the same time and give their attention away from their screen. So I wonder if you did something like that with the cafe, that you might be able to sponsor it or cross promote, you know, with them, either a coffee tasting or blueberry muffin tasting, you know,
Right.
Something fun that gets people away from their screens and gives you just a chance to say, you know, hey, I'm Christy. I run this space across the street and I'm basically one of you. And I wanted to, you know, be able to build a place where we could all have great internet and be able to take phone calls and not have to take our computers to the bathroom with us. And, you know, like really speak to the specific pains of working in a cafe that, you know, are an issue. You know, not have to worry about spotty Wi-Fi, not have to worry about the espresso machine firing up the moment that I get on a client call, you know, those kinds of things. And we're just getting started. And I really love it if any of you were interested to come check it out. And by the way, I got some day passes here for your first visit or whatever, right?
Okay.
Or like, by the way, we're doing a thing next week and I'd love for you to join if you're interested. Come find me if you're interested in learning more. You know, so like give them a little, instead of just like handing them things, you say like, you know, hey, if you're interested, come talk to me and I'll give you the thing. Which I found tends to work really well. It at least draws people out of the woodwork.
Right.
You know, and I found this sometimes like with promotional emails and things like that too, where I'll say something where maybe I'm not sure that it's ready to sell them on a thing yet. Or I want to know if they actually are interested before I try to sell them the thing. Right. And so I'll say something like, instead of saying like, I offer a service for this, here's the link. I would say like, I offer a service for this. Would you be interested to learn more? And then before I actually give them the link, they have to respond and say, yes, I am interested in that. Please tell me more. And now they've given me permission. They've actually asked me to give them the information. So now I say, oh, okay, well, the link's right here. How does it look? What do you think? Is this what you have in mind? So the conversation's still there, but it's kind of like the thing you're selling is kind of this thing over here. So you can say like, well, it's right over here. Here's the details. What do you think of it? So you get to keep the conversation going and hopefully the person responds, but there's at least a sense of permission. Whereas I feel like so many sales emails I've sent and even like conversations in real life, I just kind of like, here's what I'm selling. Here's the link. And then maybe they click it, maybe they respond, but probably not. So, yeah, but some kind of activity I think would be called for. Yeah. And there's probably a bunch of ways you could brainstorm how to approach that.
Sure.
I noticed that there is a big board gaming community in your region on Meetup. Do you know about these guys?
I do know about them. Yeah.
I'm just wondering if if there's a relationship to be had with them. Like maybe we could do a gaming activity at this cafe and have that be a draw in some way. I'm just spitballing.
I can think about that. Yeah. My son is 23, and so I do know some of the gaming community.
Yeah, some stuff to spitball with. So what was the cafe that you have in mind? The one that you were talking about with the owner that is unhappy with the crowds.
Spectre.
Spectre. Okay.
Spector.
I just like looking at it on a map.
Sure.
Oh yeah, it's right across the street from you.
Yeah, right. We're right under his nose. He's a younger guy. Super cool. We had a great conversation, and we just connected, and so it was kind of funny. He was like, I've not heard of you.
Oh, that's great. All right, very good. And it looks like you've got like a really vibrant kind of downtown core here now that I'm favoriting your local cafe. I see.
Yeah, see. So if you go up the street a little bit, well, I don't see her on the map, but next to Mikado, there's a restaurant, it's a small cafe called Fresh 80K. And she actually, my friend said no, but I consider her to be competition because she heavily encourages people to come and work in her space and have their meetings in her space and have get-togethers in her space. And see, I'm in the picture. There's the ribbon cutting.
Oh, really? You're in here, yeah?
I'm on my phone.
Oh, that's you in the back. Oh, great. That's funny. All right. Yeah. So I mean, it does look like a co-working space cafe for sure. Like I get that.
Yeah, she just a couple weeks ago expanded into the larger space there, and so that's where the free co-working group meets.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, hey, that's all good. It's all part of the equation here.
Right.
Remind me how the co-working group works. Like how many people come out to that?
From what I understand, it's typically between 4 and 6 people. And they used to do it once a month. But since I've opened this place, they've started doing it once a week. It used to be a meetup. And she's now a Facebook. So I know the girl that runs it, she's approached me a few times about doing free events here. So kind of interesting.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Christy, the vibe I'm getting, I think looking at the map has been really helpful actually, because I'm reminded of some of the things here. You know, like I see this Rock Hill Bakehouse and I see Davidson Brothers Brew Pub, right? This is a city of 14,000 people. It's not a mega big market. And so we don't have the same kinds of numbers that you'd have in a bigger city where you've got a lot of freelancers, you've got a lot of, you know, like a large pool of people working from home. This is a small town. And I think a small town, and help me understand it better because you actually know this world better than I do. But the vibe that I get is that this is so much more about the relationships than it is about anything else. Like
It is. It is. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Like people know each other. They've known each other a long time. There's like people who've owned a certain building for generations. And there's like a lot of institutional kind of history there.
I have to say at this point, it's a mix. And just so you know, I'm a local. I've grown up here. If you go a little tiny bit beyond the downtown district, like one block, you're going to see two new developments, which are condominiums, buildings with condominiums, and they're drawing that younger demographic, that telecommute or work from home demographic, that market of people. So that's very exciting. So there is a mix of both really at this point.
Yeah. And let's get a hold of that property manager.
I have, and she's been in the space, and they do an email to their group, and she's offered to, you know, push out anything that I send her to the tenants in the building. I'm still trying to get a hold of the property manager at the other building across the street. So.
Gotcha. Okay, well, keep us posted on how it goes. I feel like we got some promising prospects with the cafe relationship. Do you think you might want to try to brainstorm an event there?
I definitely will chat with him and see what opportunity there is.
Awesome. All right, keep us posted on how it goes.
Will do. Thank you.
All right. Ryan, I saw you show up at the very end here. You want to just say a quick hello and we could do an outro intro?
Sure. Sorry about that. I was all set up to hop up on the call, and as I was coming back, I bumped into one of our ambassadors here at the space and got into like a really good conversation. You know, talking about a lot of stuff. You know, our upcoming events and what's going on in her life and stuff like that. So I apologize for that, but we're doing really good here in Miami. We're having an awesome week, really solidifying and setting up for the end of September with all of our community events for our members, engaging everybody with our ambassadors and stuff. I have to do an onboarding meeting to make sure that everybody understands how to use our app, since we're using Optics to handle our invoicing, our communications with members and stuff like that. It's an awesome app. Definitely worth it. I would suggest it. We had to nix using Spaces Nexodus because it was not working for us. Completely redid our website, so that's a new thing that's up. So we're doing pretty good this week, and excited to look back at the video later on so I can get a recap on what everybody talked about. But this is very in line with what we're focusing on.
Fair enough. Yeah, we actually had a fairly detailed discussion on the different software platforms and their trade-offs. So you'll probably find it amusing because it was largely a conversation about how painful it all is. So there you go. Cool. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining. Best of luck to everybody, and make sure that you feel free to use the online resources as you need with any questions that come up. I'm going to try to send notes from this conversation, so that could be a little prompt if you want to follow up, reply to that email. And otherwise, best of luck. Keep up the great work. Thanks for joining the meeting. Oh no, did everyone freeze? Somebody say goodbye. Okay. All right. Bye, everybody. Take care.
Cool.